Elias Ward had seen many space stations during his years as a Terran engineer, but Vesper Station felt different the moment it came into view. It floated at the edge of a purple-blue nebula that glowed like a sleeping giant, its light washing over the station's silver plates. Long arrays stretched outward like metallic wings, catching the soft shimmer of drifting stardust. Elias stood at the starship window, holding his small travel bag, watching the station grow larger as the ship approached. The sight filled him with a quiet mix of curiosity and unease. He had heard plenty of stories about this place, half research hub, half diplomatic center, and always a little too far from safe Terran space. But he wasn't here for adventure. He was here because Vesper Station had a problem no one else had been able to fix. The quantum shield, the station's most important defense system, was failing. That was why they needed him. The ship docked with a gentle thud. The airlock opened, releasing a cool breath of recycled air. Elias stepped inside the station's main corridor. The floors hummed under his boots, and the lights were brighter than he expected. Humans and aliens walked past him, some in worn uniforms, others in bright cultural clothing from worlds he didn't recognize. He had almost forgotten this place was a cluster of species all trying to live and work together. Before he could admire the view for long, a cheerful voice carried across the hallway. Elias Ward. Look at you, still alive, and still terrible at sending messages. Elias turned and laughed when he saw him. Rian Holt, his best friend since they were teenagers, stood there with a grin so wide it nearly broke his face. His uniform jacket was half-zipped, like usual, as if he had put it on while running. Rian, Elias said, smiling back. Always, Rian replied, pulling him into a firm hug. You made it. I knew you would. Even if all your messages were just, yes, coming soon for 3 months. Elias shrugged. I like to keep things simple. You like to forget to reply, Rian corrected. Elias couldn't argue with that. Ryan stepped back and slapped Elias's shoulder. Come on. There's someone who really wanted to see you. Elias didn't have to ask who. Talia Holt, Rian's younger sister. He hadn't seen her in 2 years. The last time was at Rian's promotion ceremony, and even then, she had been too busy translating alien dialects to stay long. She had always been sharp, calm, and focused. He remembered her as someone who could understand 3 languages at once, while ignoring every party in the room. Is she still working in xenolinguistics? Elias asked, as they walked through the corridor. Working, Rian snorted. It rules her life. She barely sleeps. Comes out only for coffee. Sometimes I think she understands alien languages better than human ones. That sounds like her, Elias said softly. Rian gave him a side glance. She'll be glad you're here. She's been different lately. Different how? Rian hesitated. They stepped into the station's central observation hall, a wide open room with transparent walls that revealed the nebula outside. The glowing clouds drifted like cosmic smoke, peaceful and endless. Talia stood near one of the consoles, her dark hair tied back in a simple knot, her eyes locked on a floating hologram filled with chaotic symbols. Blue lines and red waves danced around each other, in strange patterns. Even from behind, she looked tense. Rian cleared his throat loudly on purpose. Look who I found wandering the station like a lost tourist. Talia turned. Her eyes landed on Elias, and something flickered in them, surprise, relief, and something else he couldn't place. She walked toward him, her steps steady but quick. Elias, she said. You came. Her voice was calm, but her expression held weight, as if his arrival meant more than he understood. It's good to see you, he replied. It's been too long. She nodded slowly, studying him with a seriousness that made him straighten unconsciously. We need you here, she said quietly. Rian laughed. That's Talia's way of saying she's happy you showed up instead of hiding on Earth repairing old mining ships. I don't hide, Elias protested. You do, Talia said simply. Elias raised an eyebrow. Why do you say it like that? Talia didn't answer. She just held his gaze for a moment longer, too long before she turned back to the hologram. Rian clapped his hands once. All right, enough mysterious staring. Elias needs rest. Then we'll show him the shield room in the morning. But before they could move, the station lights dimmed. The floor vibrated. A warning tone echoed through the hall, long, low, and unfamiliar. Everyone in the room froze. A mechanical voice spoke overhead. External gravitational anomaly detected. All personnel remain calm. Elias looked around. No one seemed calm. Rian muttered. Not again. Talia stepped toward the observation window. It's stronger this time. What's stronger? Elias asked, joining her. Instead of answering, she pointed outside. The nebula was shifting its colors, tightening, swirling, compressing in unnatural ways. A strange ripple spread across the stars. Like something massive was disturbing space itself. Elias felt a cold chill. What is that? We don't know, Talia said. But it's getting closer every day. Another alarm echoed. Tools rattled on the console. A faint blue energy wave brushed past the station hull, making the glass vibrate under their hands. Technicians rushed to consoles. Aliens chattered anxiously in their native languages. Rian pressed his communicator. Command, this is Captain Holt. Do we have a reading? Static answered at first, then a shaky voice. Not fully, sir. But the disturbance is changing pattern. It looks intentional. Intentional? Elias repeated, as if something is trying to reach us. The voice replied, more like something is heading directly toward us. A tight silence filled the room. Talia stepped even closer to the observation glass. Her expression darkened, her eyes narrowing with tension. Elias watched her. Something about her posture, her stare, it felt like she knew more than she was saying. Talia, he said softly. What is it? She didn't turn. I told Ryan weeks ago. I told Command too. This pattern isn't random. I've been tracking fragments of it for months. But they thought it was just noise. Rian sighed. Talia. It isn't noise, she said sharply. It's a message, or a warning, and it's getting louder. Before Elias could ask more, another tremor shook the hall, stronger this time. The holograms flickered. The lights wavered. Rian cursed. Shield status? A technician shouted. Quantum field is unstable again. Dropping by 2%. 1. Elias's mind kicked into instinct as he rushed to the nearest console. You don't have redundancies on the feedback loop? We did, the technician said. But the anomaly is interfering with everything. Elias typed fast, scanning the shield's status. It was worse than the reports he had read. The whole system was degrading. He exhaled slowly. This is bad. Very bad. Rian groaned. That's why we dragged you across the galaxy. Talia stepped beside Elias. Her voice was quiet but steady. You see now. This isn't normal. And it isn't only a shield problem. It's connected to the anomaly. Elias looked at her. How can you be sure? She finally met his eyes again. And this time, he felt the weight behind her stare. The reason she had been acting so serious since he arrived. Because, she said softly, I've seen this pattern before. In my dreams. In broken signals. In the station's background noise. It's everywhere. And it keeps changing every time you get closer. Closer to what? Elias asked. Her answer was almost a whisper. Closer to this moment. The lights stabilized. The tremor stopped. But the air in the hall remained tight, with fear and unspoken questions. Rian rubbed the back of his neck. We'll need a full briefing in the morning. And a full repair plan. Just Caver D's. Elias nodded but kept his eyes on Talia. The look she had given him earlier now made sense. Not romantic, not personal, something deeper. Something urgent. She knew something was coming. Something big. And she had wanted him here before it arrived. As the alarms faded, and the nebula outside continued to pulse with strange, shifting colors, Elias realized one thing. Whatever was approaching the station, it wasn't supposed to be ignored. And Talia Holt wasn't going to let him leave until they faced it together. The next morning, Vesper Station felt tense, like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. The lights were dimmer than usual, and the halls were crowded with engineers, security teams, and alien diplomats all talking in low, stressed voices. Elias woke early. He hadn't slept much. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the nebula twisting, the strange ripple moving across the stars, and Talia's words echoing in his mind. It's a message. It's getting louder. It's connected to the shield. He dressed quickly and made his way to the shield control center. The station buzzed with activity around him. Repairs everywhere. Workers rushing. Robots carrying heavy equipment. Even the aliens seemed uneasy. When he reached the shield room, Rion was already there, leaning over a large table display with several officers. Talia stood a few steps away, staring at a projected waveform that twisted like a living thing. There he is, Rion said when Elias walked in. The man who's supposed to save us from exploding. Elias gave a weak smile. Exploding isn't on my to-do list. It might be on the station's, Rion muttered. Talia glanced at Elias as he approached, her expression calm but heavy. She nodded once. Good morning. Elias nodded back. Morning. Any new changes? She pointed at the waveform. It shifted again, right before you walked in. He blinked. Again? Every few hours, she explained. Sometimes minor. Sometimes a complete rearrangement. But the frequency drops only when you're close to the shield controls. Rion made a face. Are you saying it likes Elias? Talia didn't smile. I'm saying it reacts to him. Elias stared at the waveform, feeling a strange chill. How can a cosmic disturbance react to one person? We don't know, she said, folding her arms. But something in the signal shifts when you touch the shield's main panel. It's subtle, but real. Rion tapped the table display. Before we go down any conspiracy path, let's start with the obvious problem. The shield is falling apart. Elias looked over the diagnostic report. 5 red warnings. 2 orange. 1 blinking yellow. The shield was dropping in strength faster than he feared. It shouldn't be degrading this fast, Elias said. Even with the anomaly, it should last weeks, not days. Rion raised an eyebrow. Days? Maybe less, Elias admitted. That shut everyone up. Talia stepped closer to the screen. Then we need to understand the signal now. Not later. Elias watched the moving waveform. The shapes were strange loops, spikes, and repeating spirals that didn't match any known communication structure. What do you think it is? He asked. Talia's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Not language. Not patterns from nature. Something else. Rion sighed. You keep saying that. What does something else mean? We? She turned toward him. It's trying to communicate through structure instead of sound. Through motion instead of words. It's mixing math with rhythm. Like a message made of changing gravity. Rion blinked. Okay. But why us? Elias stepped back from the console. Maybe it isn't trying to reach us. Maybe it's asking for help. Talia looked at him sharply, as if she agreed but hadn't wanted to say it yet. Rion looked between them. Help? How do you know that? Just a feeling, Elias said. But every time the anomaly pulses, the shield destabilizes, and the signal changes at the same time. Like the disturbance is in trouble. And we're the only tech nearby it can interact with. Talia nodded slowly. Yes. That matches the fragments I saw weeks ago. Talia. Talia, 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 Talia. Elias frowned. Fragments? Her shoulders tensed slightly. Pieces of the signal appeared in our background scans before Command noticed anything. I reported it, but they said it was system noise. Rian sighed. To be fair, this station gets weird background noise all the time. This wasn't noise, Talia insisted. Elias studied her face. She looked tired, exhausted, actually, as if she had been working on this for far longer than anyone knew. You should have told me sooner, he said gently. Talia's expression softened for half a second. You weren't here. Tra. Before Elias could reply, an alarm blared across the shield room. A technician shouted, Commander! The anomaly just accelerated. Anyone. Everyone looked at the main display. Outside the station, the nebula twisted violently. The ripple in space grew larger, deeper, more defined, like something massive was emerging from behind a curtain. Ryan swore. The disturbance is getting closer. No, Talia said. Not closer. Clearer. Elias stepped forward. She pointed at the waveform again, now changing so fast the computer struggled to keep up. It's showing itself. The lights flickered. The floor trembled. A deep sound rolled through the station, like distant thunder traveling through metal. Elias grabbed the console to steady himself. Is that sound from outside? Space doesn't carry sound, Rian said tightly. Then what was that? Elias asked. Vibrations, Talia answered. The anomaly is shaking the whole station. The shaking grew stronger. More alarms lit up. A voice on the intercom yelled, Unknown fleet detected. Rian froze. Fleet? The technicians began shouting numbers, coordinates, sizes, velocities. Elias felt his stomach drop. Talia pulled up the external view. On the screen, shapes emerged from the swirling nebula. Long shadows first, then bright hulls reflecting the nebula's purple light. Dozens of ships. Their designs were unlike anything Elias had seen. Curved, metallic forms, glowing blue veins running across their sides, and massive engines that looked like pulsing hearts. Rian whispered, They're not human, and they're not any Alliance species either. Talia leaned forward. Her voice was steady, even though her eyes were wide. They came through the anomaly. A technician shouted, No weapons lock detected. But they're sending something else, some kind of data burst. Talia's head snapped toward Elias. The signal. Elias stared at the incoming wave of information hitting the station sensors. It looked almost identical to the patterns they had been studying, only much stronger, much more urgent. They're not attacking, Talia said. They're communicating. Rian rubbed his temples. So what do they want? A welcome party? No, Elias whispered. I don't think they came to see us. The technicians looked confused. Then why approach the station? Talia turned toward them. Because we have the only quantum shield in range. They might need it. Rian frowned. For what? Before anyone could answer, a new alert flashed red across every screen. Dimensional lattice collapse detected. Critical expansion rate. Elias stared in disbelief. That can't be right. Talia read the numbers quickly. The collapse is behind them. They're running from it. Rian looked horrified. Running? From a collapsing dimension? The external cameras zoomed out, showing the ripple stretching behind the alien fleet. What looked small before now grew huge. An expanding fracture in space, like a crack spreading through glass. It glowed with an eerie blue-white light, and it was coming closer. Elias felt a cold fear sink into his bones. Talia whispered, This is what I felt in the signal fragments. Something breaking. Something calling out. Calling out to us? Rian asked. To anyone, she said. To anything. The voice on the intercom came again, panicked. Captain Holt, the anomaly is collapsing into a dimensional tear. If we get caught, we'll be torn apart at the quantum level. Rian swallowed hard. Options? Elias took a deep breath. We have to stabilize the shield. Now. And we have to decode the signal enough to know if the fleet needs our help, or if their presence will overload the shield even faster. Talia nodded. I can keep working on the pattern, but we need more processing power. Rian pointed at the technicians. Reroute 2 of the research AIs to Talia's lab. Give her everything she needs. The technicians rushed off. Elias checked the shield readings again. The collapse energy is interacting with the shield in unpredictable ways. If we don't adjust soon, the whole system will fail. Rian gave him a serious look. Tell me what you need. Access to the shield core, Elias said. And time. A lot of it. We don't have a lot, Rian replied. I know, Elias said quietly. But we'll work with what we have. Talia stepped closer. Elias, I think the signal is more than a distress call. He turned toward her. What do you mean? She hesitated, her voice dropping. I think it's a warning. And not just for them. Outside, the alien fleet shifted into formation, their ships gliding silently through the fractured nebula. For the first time, Elias understood the truth. The anomaly wasn't the real danger. What was behind it was, and whatever was coming, was getting closer with every passing second. The station shook again. But this time, the vibration was deeper, like the bones of Vesper Station were trembling under a heavy weight. Elias felt the floor shift beneath his feet as warning lights flashed along the walls. The alien fleet had formed a protective arc in front of the station, hovering just outside the shield like guardians from a distant world. Their ships glowed with pulses of blue light, each flash matching the rhythm of the strange signal. Talia had disappeared into her lab 2 hours earlier, surrounded by screens, holograms, and 2 powerful research AIs now working at full speed to interpret the signal. Elias knew she wouldn't stop until she understood it. He also knew time was running out. Rian walked beside him as they headed toward the shield core. The hallway was filled with engineers working frantically, connecting power cells, replacing cables, and shouting updates across the room. The lights flickered again. Shield stability at 39%. Someone called out. Rian cursed softly. It's dropping fast. Elias didn't need to be reminded. He could feel the pressure, not only from the failing shield, but from something else. Something he didn't understand yet. The signal reacted to him. Talia sensed it. And every time he got closer to the shield, the waveform changed like a heartbeat speeding up. He pushed the thought aside. One crisis at a time. When they reached the shield core chamber, the doors opened with a metallic hiss. The room was massive, filled with tall circular panels and glowing tubes that fed quantum energy into the shield. In the center stood the core itself, a sphere of swirling white light suspended inside a ring of metal. But today, the sphere was dimmer, unstable. Its surface rippled like a dying star. Elias stepped closer. It's worse than yesterday. That's why we didn't wait for a meeting, Rian said. Do what you have to. Elias put on a pair of insulated gloves as robotic arms moved to assist. He connected his toolkit and opened the panel at the base of the core. Sparks jumped. The energy flow was shaking violently like the shield was fighting something too strong for it. Rian checked the readings. This shouldn't be happening. The shield wasn't designed to face whatever that thing is. Why? 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 It can handle regular energy distortions, Elias said, keeping his voice calm. But this isn't regular. This is intelligent. Rian looked at him. Intelligent? You think the anomaly is alive? No, Elias said quickly. Not alive. But reacting. It feels like 2 forces are pulling against each other. Our shield, and the collapse behind the fleet. Rian took a deep breath. And we're in the middle. Elias nodded. Exactly. Before Rian could respond, the station intercom crackled. Talia Holt to Shield Corps, her voice said, firm but hurried. Elias, I need you in the lab right now. Elias and Rian exchanged a look. Rian opened the comm. Talia. Elias is working on the shield. Can it wait? No, she said sharply. Bring him now. It's important. Elias removed his gloves. He felt a knot form in his stomach. She sounds serious. She always sounds serious, Rian replied. But this time, different. They left the core chamber and moved through the corridors. More alarms echoed. More engineers ran past them. The collapse outside was getting closer. When they reached Talia's lab, the doors slid open quickly, too quickly, almost as if she had been waiting right at the entrance. Her eyes were focused and bright with urgency. You found something, Elias said. Yes, she said, stepping aside so they could see the hologram filling the room. The waveform they had studied before had changed. It was no longer random patterns and abstract loops. It was organized, structured, clearer than ever. What am I looking at? Rian asked. Talia pointed at the moving lines. A translation. Elias stepped closer. The lines pulsed in a rhythm that felt familiar now. Translation of what? He asked. The signal, Talia replied. It's not one message. It's 3, layered together. 3? Rian repeated. Talia tapped the hologram, zooming in. First layer. A direct distress call. They're running from the collapse. Nothing surprising there. Okay, Rian said. What's the second? The second layer, Talia continued, is a map. A map? Elias asked. Yes. She pointed at the changing shapes. Not of space, not of stars, a map of how the collapse is spreading. They're warning us that it's expanding at an unpredictable rate. If it keeps moving like this, entire sectors could disappear. Rian swallowed hard. That's bad. That's an understatement, Talia said. Elias looked at her. What about the third layer? She hesitated. Rian's voice softened. Talia? She took a deep breath. The third layer isn't for us. What do you mean? Elias asked. It's not a distress call and not a map. It's instructions. For what? Rian asked. Talia turned toward Elias slowly. For the shield. For how to modify it. How to merge their energy with ours. Elias blinked. Merge? That's impossible. Human tech and alien tech don't mix like that. It would take days to... It reacts to you. Talia interrupted. Elias froze. What? She gestured to the waveform. The pattern changes every time you get close to the shield. Every time you touch the panel. It's responding to your exact energy field. Rian frowned. Energy field? He's human, not a reactor. Talia shook her head. It's not about power. It's about resonance. Something in Elias's neural pattern aligns with the frequency of the signal. Elias felt the world slow around him. How is that possible? I don't know, Talia admitted. Maybe coincidence. Maybe something else. But if the fleet designed these instructions, they might be expecting someone who can interact with the shield this way. Expecting? Rian repeated. They don't even know we exist. Talia turned to him. Then why did the signal appear months before the fleet got here? Why did fragments show up only on systems connected to the shield? Why did the pattern stabilize only when Elias arrived? Rian had no answer. Elias felt heat rising in his chest, not anger, fear. Confusion. A sense of being chosen for something he never asked for. I'm just an engineer, he said quietly. You're the engineer who the signal reacts to, Talia replied. Before Elias could respond, the station shook violently, far stronger than before. Everyone grabbed onto the nearest surface. The lights flickered. Several screens shut off. A voice shouted through the intercom. Dimensional collapse increasing. Alien fleet shifting positions. Talia ran to the nearest monitor and pulled up the external view. The alien ships had moved, forming a tighter, more defensive pattern. Their blue cores glowed brighter, pulsing in sync with the signal. Elias stared at the display. They're preparing for something. Rian nodded. Or running out of time. Another alert flashed. Shield integrity at 25%. Talia turned toward Elias. We need to modify the shield. Now. Using the instructions from the third layer. Rian looked between them. And if we do nothing, Talia said firmly, the collapse outside will reach us in hours. Elias took a deep breath. Fear twisted in his stomach. But behind it was determination. He knew Talia was right. Let's do it, he said. Talia nodded and handed him a small projection tablet showing the alien instructions. I'll help interpret. You stabilize the core. Rian stepped forward. And I'll make sure no one interrupts. Together, they ran down the corridor toward the shield chamber again. The ground trembled. The lights dimmed. The sound of distant metal groaning filled the air. The collapse was close. As they entered the shield room, the core flickered dangerously like a light bulb on the edge of dying. Talia pulled up the instructions on a large holo screen. Strange alien symbols and flowing patterns filled the air. Elias opened the core panel again. Tell me what to do. Talia moved beside him. Start rerouting the pulse modulators to match this pattern. It needs a 3-step cycle. Elias began adjusting wires and controls. The core pulsed weakly. Rian stood guard near the door, watching the external feeds. The fleet is powering their engines. Maybe helping. Maybe ready to run. They're waiting for us, Talia said. Elias kept working. Sweat rolled down his forehead. His hands moved fast but steady. The shield core glowed brighter for a second, then dimmed. Almost there, Talia said. Next step. Elias made another adjustment, connecting a final cable. The waveform on the screen pulsed once, twice, then aligned perfectly. A deep hum filled the room. The shield core flared with new light. Rian stared. Is that good? The core stabilized slightly. Only slightly. But enough. Talia turned toward Elias. Her voice was soft but full of meaning. This is the moment I saw coming. He met her eyes. And now? She looked back at the glowing core. Now, she said, the real fight begins. The shield core glowed brighter with every passing second. But the light was still unstable. Shaking. Flickering. Struggling to hold its new shape. Elias stood in front of the open panel with his sleeves rolled up, his hands moving fast as he adjusted circuits and energy lines. Sweat covered his forehead. His heartbeat felt as loud as the alarms echoing across the station. The alien instructions were working, just barely. Talia stood beside him, reading the shifting holograms, translating the alien patterns into simple steps Elias could follow. Her eyes moved quickly from symbol to symbol, her fingers swiping through layers of alien code. Rian watched the entrance, one hand on his communicator and the other gripping the back of a chair. Every few seconds he checked the external monitors, and each time his expression grew more serious. The collapse is almost here, he said, voice tight. It's growing faster. The alien fleet is charging their engines again. Talia didn't look up. They're waiting for us. They won't leave without knowing if we can help. Elias tightened a connection. Then, let's give them an answer. The core pulsed once bright and sharp. A tremor shook the entire room. A deep alarm sounded through the station. Dimensional collapse, approaching critical range. Rian muttered, "That does not sound friendly." The external view showed the terrifying truth. Behind the alien fleet, the collapsing dimensional tear had widened into a massive swirling fracture, growing like a storm. Blue-white lines cut across space, forming cracks in reality itself. Small pieces of matter disappeared into the expanding light. swallowed like dust in a strong wind. Elias swallowed. If that reaches us. It won't, Talia said. Not if we finish the integration. The shield core flashed again, this time, a steady pulse. Elias watched as the hologram updated the readings. Stability rising, he said with relief. Slowly, but rising. Talia tapped another alien symbol. Next step, activate the merge pathway. Connect the alien frequency pattern to the core stabilizer. Elias hesitated. If this backfires, Rian shook his head. We don't have another choice. Elias took a breath, then reached into the panel and switched the final line. A sudden shockwave surged through the core. The entire station shook violently. Tools fell from tables. The lights flickered and dimmed. Rian grabbed a railing. What did you do? Exactly what she told me to, Elias said through clenched teeth. Talia stared at the core, her eyes wide. It's reacting. This is what the merge is supposed to look like. Good reaction or bad reaction? Rian demanded. We're about to find out, she said. The core exploded with light but not outward. Instead, it funneled upward, shooting a stream of bright white-blue energy straight into the ceiling, feeding into the shield array that wrapped around the station. A low, deep hum spread across Vesper Station. The shields brightened outside. The alien fleet responded immediately, their ships glowing, matching the rhythm. Their engines pulsed at the same frequency. They're syncing with us, Elias said. Just like the instructions said. Just like the instructions said. But then, a much louder alarm blared. Warning. Shield core overload imminent. Rian shouted, Elias! I know, Elias replied, already reaching into the panel again. It's too much energy. Too fast. The shield, now hybridized with alien tech, was stronger but unstable. The alien fleet was feeding their power into the station, and the core was struggling to hold the combined force. Talia watched the readouts rapidly. We need a modulator. A stabilizing rhythm. Something to balance the pulse. Elias froze. A rhythm? Yes, Talia said, pointing at the alien patterns. They use rhythm in their communication. It's not just data, it's emotion, intention, coordination. If we match their rhythm, the shield will stabilize. Rian stared at her. But Elias isn't a musician. No, Talia said quietly. But the signal reacts to him. Elias blinked. You want me to, what? Touch the core? Yes, Talia said without hesitation. It needs your resonance. The signal has been responding to you since the beginning. If you align with it, the shield might adapt. Rian was instantly alarmed. Talia, that could kill him. Or save all of us, she said softly. Including the fleet outside. Elias didn't wait another second. He stepped toward the core. Talia, tell me what to do. She moved beside him, guiding him carefully. Place your hand on the metal ring right there. And stay calm. The shield will sense your energy pattern and adjust. Calm, Rian muttered. Great. Because everything is totally calm right now. Elias ignored him and placed his hand on the ring. The metal was warm, almost alive. A jolt of energy ran up his arm. His vision blurred for a second. He heard a faint sound, almost like a distant voice, humming. The signal. The alien frequency. It pulsed through him. And the core responded. Glowing brighter. Talia watched the monitors. It's working. Keep your hand there. Elias felt the rhythm like a heartbeat, steady, strong, calling him to match it. He breathed deeply, matched the pulse, synced with it. The core stabilized for a moment, then grew brighter, brighter, brighter. Elias, that's enough, Rian shouted. But Elias didn't move. He could feel the shield's rhythm settling, finding balance. Almost. Suddenly the light dimmed. The core steadied. The alarm stopped. Elias let out a long breath and stepped back, shaking but alive. Talia checked the readings. A small smile formed at the corner of her mouth. The shield is stable. Rian exhaled loudly. Finally. But then another alert appeared, smaller, softer, less urgent. External energy surge detected. Alien fleet transmitting final data burst. Talia turned toward the screen. It's the last part of the signal. Rian frowned. What does it mean? Talia read it slowly. Her expression softened, sad and understanding at the same time. They're saying thank you. Elias blinked. Thank you? Yes, she said quietly. The shield won't hold the collapse forever. But it gave them a window. Long enough for evacuation. Long enough for escape. Rian watched the external camera feed. One by one, the alien ships began to turn away from the collapsing tier. Their engines brightened. Their ships lifted, drifting into formation again. Then, with a brilliant flash of blue light, the fleet jumped to safety. Moments later, the dimensional collapse hit the shield. A massive wave of blue-white energy slammed against it. Elias, Talia, and Rian braced themselves. The shield held. It stretched, bending like a bubble against a storm. The room shook violently, metal, groaning under pressure. The lights flickered. The shield dimmed. Then brightened. Holding. Finally, after endless seconds, the collapse faded in on itself like a dying flame. The room fell silent. The shield's hum softened. The danger passed. Rian collapsed into a chair. We survived. Talia smiled, tired and relieved. Yes. Because we didn't run. Elias leaned against the wall, breathing deeply. Outside, the nebula began to settle again. The stars slowly returned to their normal shapes. Vesper Station floated quietly, its shield faint but alive. Talia walked toward Elias. Her voice was soft and full of meaning. Elias met her eyes. There was no fear there anymore, only understanding. You needed me to stay, he said. We all did, she replied. The station, the fleet. Rian groaned. Great. Now you two can talk about the weird signal thing while I go take the longest nap in history. Talia laughed. Elias smiled. The station alarms went quiet. Engineers cheered down the hallway. Vesper Station had faced the collapse and survived. Not because humans were strongest. Not because they had the best technology. But because when the universe called them for help, humanity stayed.